All right. I think we're live. All right. This is an emergency last minute WTF therapy session live stream. I've got Blake Murphy who's jumped in with me. There's going to be some other folks that'll probably pop in. We'll be probably heavy chat tonight. We're just processing this. So, Blake, I know you've got limited time. You're in between. You're about to catch you just got in from a flight. You're about to catch a rental car. So I'm going to let you just kind of give your thoughts because you have limited time, and then I'll be here all night. So go ahead, jump right in. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. The first approach you got to say is always for me is usually logical, which is always like, well, here's this that happened. Here's how this team's done. But there's the emotional aspect of just being a Cardinals fan. You watch this team, you follow the team. A lot of fans are just wanting to vent right now, Joe. Like, we just need to probably like create some space for venting because you just lose to an 0-4 team on the road that could not move the ball down the field. You had two opportunities to ice the game. Both of those get fumbled away at the end of the game, instead of putting it onto the shoulders of a guy you're paying $40 million a year to, you run the ball about 5 times in a row, kick it back while you're down a point, and it's almost like you just gave up. It's the third game in a row that the Cardinals have now lost on a field goal. And a lot of it has to do with that conservatism. And a lot of people are going to blame Drew Petzing. And I do think that we can agree here. He's probably been a script merchant. The script merchant's going to be a coordinator who the opening game script is always good. When it comes time for playing the second halves of games, we've seen the Cardinals struggle. Once it goes
Yeah.
off of the scripted plays to the unscripted plays, just does not have any flow, has no say. So we saw them finally get Marvin Harrison Jr. involved early on, only to have him essentially disappear as the game got down the stretch. This is just one of those things where if the offense does anything in the second half, you're there. And they did do one thing. They had one thing that they did. And MRD Mercado drops the ball at the 1 yard line, offers some free advertising for the Chad Powers show on Hulu. Just one of those things that happened last week with Adonai Mitchell dropping the ball as well. A lot of people just wanting him to be cut or released. It feels ultimately, Joe, like this era of Cardinals football in a way, what we've seen this whole season boils down into this game as to why people have just abandoned hope, all ye who have entered here. For a lot of fans watching this team, giving their time, money, and effort week in and week out for the product that we saw, which got people's hopes up only to dash them in the end. It's very frustrating.
Yeah, and I was texting with Kyler Bird throughout the game, and you kind of hit on something with all those things coming together. To me, the most disappointing part of this all is effort, not making bonehead mistakes, being well coached. Those were the things in the first 2 years that we praise Jonathan Gannon for bringing to this team, right? The penalties were far fewer than they were under Kingsbury. We saw them play hard, effort. And then you have this game where penalties, some mistakes, mental errors, and just the inexplicable, lackadaisical showboating of American Mercado. And listen, I believe you should show emotion and celebrate, but when you're trying to kind of just toe the line and drop the ball right at the right second, you get it wrong. Like, save the showboating for after you have securely scored the touchdown, then celebrate, right?
Yeah.
It just that's the part that's so frustrating is this team, the lack of discipline, the sloppiness, the mistakes. That's the thing that we thought Jonathan Gannon had fixed. The talent just needed to get better. But now that's the stuff. Like that, like listen,
Yeah.
it was a bad game all around in the second half. But that Demarcado play, I don't want to. I'd never like to pin it on one play, but that is the difference in the game. We
It was.
survive, right?
If that play does not happen, then there is no end of game scenario. There is no
Yeah,
situation in which the Titans are able to come back. And then second was even with the other just crazy play with that fumble luck, none of that even has to happen if you're aggressive and say, hey, guess what? We're better than these guys. Kyler, go out there, throw for a couple of first downs. Everyone's all freaking out thinking we're about to lose this game. Instead, what do? They just line up like they're going to just run the ball down, expecting some defensive play to be made. And it's the exact same mistake that Jonathan Gannon has not learned from the last 2 weeks because they've made those same errors and same mistakes. And we can even go back to the Saints game, letting them back in, the Panthers game, where it took a defensive play to win this game. And this is the first week where that defensive play did not happen. That's one of the things I think that we can say. And it didn't happen against an 0-4 Titans team that has potentially been the worst team in football. And Joe, we'll have to talk a bit about how this goes down for the rest of their spot. But if you're taking a look at their schedule and you take a peek at that, you're probably going to be really, really struggling to find a win for the Cardinals coming up in the next few games with that schedule. If this turns into a downward slide, then a lot of fans are going to start to be checked out. You'll start hearing the boo birds be for more than just the first quarter. This is one of those, like you said, a linchpin of, I think, or a hairpin, I think is the one we've called it before, where if you kind of pull it out, everything kind of falls or collapses. That's exactly what this loss feels like for Cardinals fans, is that this just turned everything on its heel, turned everything on its head, and now there is no firing, player being gone, whatever you want to call it. Everything seems to be now a possibility for this team and franchise.
Marcos, how you doing, buddy? Working with your mic. Your mic is working about as well as everything for the Cardinals in the second half. We'll let it once you're in here. We'll get you going. Yeah, I mean, it's just listen. I am a person who doesn't change my positions quickly. I take my time. Some people think I'm too slow to change, and that's all right. I also but that's part because I put a lot of thought in my positions and I don't change them quickly. And overall, that served me well. I think there have been a lot of kind of takes I've had that people have appreciated because they were so well thought out. And I'm also not super reactionary, right? I'm more kind of moderated in taking my time and points when people are overreacting, I'm like, hey, let's look at everything. And a lot of times that works out well. So I say that all to preface, I am officially out on Kyler Murray. I know some
Mhm.
people are like, well, they've been out on him for a long time, and that's cool, right? People who listen to my content know that I've been a defender of him. I started expressing concerns. I'm out, and it's not. This game was not all on Kyler Murray. Don't get me wrong, but the way I look at it is, in you are playing against the worst team in the NFL. Yes, you're missing some players because of injuries. You're running back, your top two running backs. You've got some
Top
other
two
injuries.
guards. Top two
Dark,
guards are all missing as well
yeah,
against Jeffrey Simmons, but
Yeah.
you
you're
had the points.
you're
You had all of the
absolutely,
stuff that was there. The defense was kicking butt,
yeah,
and yet you just couldn't come up with another
yeah.
play. And we didn't even talk about the terrible. We had another, intentional grounding that Kyler
Well,
did, where we
let
talk
me
about
put
in year
a
7.
let me put a bow on the point I was making. You're
Yeah,
missing players, right? And I get that not everything is always on the quarterback, but against the worst team in the NFL, this is the kind of game Kyler needed to have a great game. Right. And I'm going to give quarterbacks passes against really good defenses and sometimes situations against really good teams if you got a lot of injuries or other players make mistakes. And this game is not all on Kyler. There were a lot of mistakes across the board, but Kyler against the worst team in the NFL needed to be able to carry this team over those mistakes. Go ahead. I'm
yeah.
sorry, jump on in if you with that.
Yeah, I can you guys hear me by the way?
Now we can. Yes.
Oh,
Thank you.
awesome. Perfect. Okay. So, I agree with the point that you made. I've gotten into a little bit of spats on X like we all have done today throughout the whole entire game. So it's emo time for us.
Yeah.
Um, I made the point that, and I know somebody else in the community made this point, that Kyler Murray isn't costing you games, but he's also not winning you games. And what he was trying to say by that is saying like, hey, like when it's time for him to carry the team, and you need that play to be made down the field and whatnot. You know the ones that you think about when you think about Lamar, you think about Patrick Mahomes, even though Patrick Mahomes is not doing so well. Even Herbert, these other quarterbacks that are like, hey, it's 3rd and 9. There's 2 minutes left. We're gonna call a pass play or whatnot. We need to get this first down, and they call it a run play for one reason or not. And I'm wondering to myself, if you have a quarterback that's this talented to be able to throw the ball downfield, why are you trying to run out the clock by throwing pass plays? He should be fired up and telling his offensive coordinator, no, we're not gonna run it on this. We need the first down. And there was 2 instances where he had, okay, so the first time I can guarantee you that there was 3 wide receivers on that intentional grounding play. They showed the all 22 clip, the sideline view. 3 wide receivers, one breaking open on the corner with Marv, and Kyler Murray just hold on to the ball for 4 seconds, which is not on his offensive line, and just goes and throws an intentional grounding ball that cost, obviously it was a punt after that. Then you had, I believe, before the last 3-and-out that they had, he moved the launch point. They called the play down the field. I had to obviously watch the all 22, guarantee this, but it was a 4 to 3.5 second hold. And that at that time the defense is coming after you. You got to throw the ball away, or you got to turn and burn, or do something.
And let me say, this to me was not a bad game for Kyler, but against this team in this situation, needed him to elevate,
Yeah.
right? And it needed better than baseline. And he gave us, like, he had some nice throws. There were some nice plays. There were some bonehead plays, but like, it wasn't a bad game, but it needed to be better against this team.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
that
think,
touchdown was amazing. That touchdown to
Yeah.
Marv, and Marv did do like that double team, getting it over. That's exactly what Marv is supposed to be here on this team to do stuff like that down the field.
yeah.
Yeah, I know. And Blake, I know you probably are very short on time. You probably got to get at him. And anything you want to kind of hit on?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that kind of goes is where do you go from here? Because as we know, the Cardinals right now, the biggest thing that people have looked at are the quarterback, which you've talked about. And I always like to take a look at things not from an emotional perspective like you, but from a logical perspective. And it's always been if you're going to move off of Kyler Murray, I've said that the solution then is to be able to say, okay, well, if you're going to accept and say Kyler's not going to be the solution, and you're going to look at the issues of him needing to play better and the fact that he hasn't played better, change is something that we see around the NFL that is good for most guys. Like you look at Sam Darnold, the last 2 years, he's played at a high level, although he did throw a tough interception today that kind of ended that game in favor of Tampa. But Baker Mayfield on the other side, it's probable that change is going to be good for Kyler wherever else he goes, which is not going to make Cardinals fans feel better. You take a look at someone like Daniel Jones, who's now looking at a 4-1 record with the Colts, who everyone kind of given up for dead from the same draft class as Kyler Murray, ends up with an offensive guy in Shane Steichen, suddenly revitalizes his career. It seems like that sort of a change could be good for the Arizona Cardinals. I've just wondered if the Cardinals would want to maybe pay another quarterback versus simply take a down year and then draft a guy. So then ultimately you're able to continue to kind of build around this younger, cheaper team versus kind of still coming off of the aging veterans that Steve Keim had. And it's tough because there's not an immediate answer. It's not like you can walk out there and say there's going to be 5 awesome first round quarterbacks out there, just like there was the year Marvin Harrison Jr. got drafted, who all have gone out and have behaved for the most part pretty well. Even with the likes of what we see with some of the top overall picks, they look a lot more like Cam Ward year one. So if your goal is to win quickly and win now, it's like it's really hard to figure out what that sort of an upgrade would be without having to pay some sort of a significant cost. We saw the Cleveland Browns try that a few years ago with Deshaun Watson. Did not work out nearly as well. They should have probably kept with the Baker Mayfield or moved on, but addressed it in a certain different way. I think the biggest takeaway I have from the end of this is, and this is something that I think some of our commenters, Roberts, has called out, which is I don't even think that it's a Petzing playing the second half too safe. I think that is a fundamentally Jonathan Gannon defensive guy who wants to run the ball, get up a big score, and then run the clock out on other teams. And that's something that we've seen has backfired ultimately. And I do not think that Jonathan Gannon has the same solutions we're looking for. So if you say, all right, we're going to let go of Drew Petzing, you bring in a new guy. Well, then isn't anything accredited that's good with the offense going to go to the new guy? Well, then wouldn't he just pick up and leave or go elsewhere? It does have me kind of thinking that the philosophy that you're looking at with the defensive head coaches, they have to be aggressive in order to make it in the NFL. Mike Tomlin is an aggressive guy who, even in his times where he's not as aggressive, he still is able to get those takeaways. Players are able to go out and make plays. They don't have the same sort of issues like we've talked about that we're hoping he could be a Mike Tomlin sort. It makes me think the Cardinals are probably going to be having to look at what does it look like to bring in an offensive fix.
I gotta figure out my volume here. I can't hear anybody.
We hear you, AVB.
We hear you.
Sorry.
Good
Loud
to
and
see you,
clear.
ABB.
I don't know if you hear us. I'm gonna let him mess with that a little bit. Sorry.
Good stuff, at least for that. So that's all I have to say is I think that this is probably going to be the start of the end of the Jonathan Gannon era because that conservatism that we saw today, we've seen this entire season, letting the Saints back into the game, letting the Panthers back into the game. It's not just, I think, as simple as saying it's the offensive coordinator and the quarterback. I do think that it is fundamentally just part of Jonathan Gannon and the way that he just is not an aggressive head coach. And I think that is going to possibly lead toward what maybe the start of the end of that era. As little as we want to think about that now, and as early as it may be, it's just that's how bad of a loss this is when you talk about being able to say foundational. And they gave stuff out too. The locker room, dead silent, dead quiet after the game is done, like knowing how bad of a loss it is. That's where you don't want to see, and you might start to see people lose faith because who's going to trust the Cardinals with any lead the rest of the season now? I don't think there's a single person who could trust them with a lead, and we certainly don't trust them to come back.
Yeah, Marcos? What do you think is next?
To piggyback on something that Blake Murphy said, I'm gonna tell every one of you guys to pay attention to this. And you guys, once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. But on offensive play calls, notice how Jonathan Gannon does the whole, cover up his mouth and whatnot. So there's a thing to a defensive coordinator or a defensive-minded head coach still being involved in the offense. A lot of times, a defensive-minded head coach can be they know offensive plays and they know offensive philosophies. They
They're
can
on the
also,
headset.
yes, they're on the headset, and you've seen him on a few times. I don't know if you guys noticed this. Pay attention to it. Kyler Murray comes to the sideline and talks to JG. Doesn't talk to Drew Petzing at all. So
Yep.
they have a line of communication with each other, and it could be the case that like, hey, Drew Petzing, makes this play call or whatnot. The guy that can veto it is JG. JG can say, no, we're not going to do that. Hey, like for instance, 39, just like I said, hey, we're going to run stretch right. Jonathan Gannon, no, we're not doing that. We're not going to do that. We need a pass play. We need you to call something down the field. Okay. All right. And then obviously the quarterback hears that, passes it on to the offense. They line up and everything like that. So JG has a lot of involvement in his offense, even though people don't think that he does.
Yeah. And real quick, Austin, I think you probably jumped in just after I said this, but I'm out. And I don't put this game all on Kyler. Like I said earlier, it wasn't a bad game, but he needed to elevate this team with their situation against a bad team. If the third year in the system, he's got all the tools, right? It's just for some reason. And listen, I know there are a lot of people who have been saying this, for a while, but there's whether it be his height, whether it be something about his play style being a spread quarterback, there's just something that isn't translating consistent enough. Now, would I bench him? And I think maybe this is a good segue to kind of my take on what I would do for the rest of the season, what I would do next. I would not bench him. I would not. If it's me and how I'm feeling in the moment, I am firing Drew Petzing. I am promoting anyone.
Who then?
I know. Probably Drew Terrell. I think that was kind of the next guy, but
because he's the wide receivers and passing game coach.
Yeah. Yes.
So again, we've said if your problem has been with your
The
receivers and your passing game, that's where we've said like it's kind of similar to that Kyler Murray situation of if you're going to bench Kyler, well then you got to put in. Well, if you're going to be putting in Jacoby Brissett, he was in for one series today. He got Chip Ryman injured. Like he threw a hospital ball. That tip came down badly on his ankle. It was unfortunate, but you're going to be kind of downgrading regardless. It'd be a first time play caller. So looking at this realistically, I think we're probably looking at you just going to be playing lame duck or lame goose football, kind of unless you're going to specifically fire Petzing, play the other guy who's going to be a first-time play caller, bench Kyler. These are some of the real conversations. If you are going to do those drastic measures, you got to say, well, what's going to be the replacement?
So let me finish my thought because there was a whole plan to this.
Oh, yeah. I do want to hear this.
Yeah. If it's me, the rest of the season is a sort of I don't know if experiment's not the right word, but an audition for the future of your job for certain people. I'm firing Drew Petzing. I am probably elevating Terrell. If someone says Spencer Whipple or someone else, that's fine. But I'm elevating someone, and I'm saying, all right, let's unleash the passing game and see what Kyler can do and what this offense can do. And if they don't show me in the back half of the season or the last 3 quarters of the season something that really impresses me, I'm probably out on JG. And I'm just going to bring in someone else who's going to they've already got some pieces on defense. They've already got some things going, and try to bring in a more conventional quarterback. Now Kyler can win me back. and JG can win me back. But they've got to really show me something. But right now, I'm out on Kyler just because I just feel like I'm now coming back to the place where I think you need more of the conventional quarterback. So the rest of the season is all right, let's see what you can do. That's kind of where I'm at.
You want to hear something crazy that I could do
Yeah.
at least to see?
Yeah.
Fire Pat Singh, fire JG. New head coach Nick Rallis gets his audition for head coach
I
of the
take it.
future. Drew Terrell gets his audition for offensive coordinator of the future.
Mhm.
And you basically run out Kyler there on a leash to where you can say, all right, we're going to run out this offense. We're going to then be able to just say we're going to be a heavy passing offense. We're also going to bring in Philadelphia's tush push with Jacoby Brissett, make Jacoby actually a bigger part of the offense. Like we're going to actually utilize. I don't think you go full two quarterback because I think that's going to toy with too much. Like that was the whole Matt Leinart, Kurt Warner thing that just
Yeah.
did not work. But I do think, like you said, if you're getting to a spot where you want to be able to have a leash, then you basically are just going to play. My belief personally is Tyler is just miles ahead of where Jacoby Brissett is. I don't think that you bench him. I think it would be an injury related sort of situation. But that's where I would lean, would be looking at the guy who has performed the best with the least, which has been ultimately Nick Rallis, and saying, hey, this is the guy who we talk about as the guy who's probably going to get head coach interviews anyway. Drew
Mhm.
Petzing had one of his with the Bears, and Bears insiders said that he was disorganized and it was not a good interview, which kind of describes the Cardinals' offense we've seen in the second half this year when the pressure has been on them. They've been disorganized and uninterested. So that's what I'd have. I'll probably have to get going here in a minute
Okay.
or so, guys, at least. I'm glad I could be able to stop by just to commiserate with all of you guys.
Well, appreciate you making what time you can while in transit. I know you're jumping to catch a rental car and stuff. So safe travels, Blake, and I know we'll be seeing you again soon this week.
Yeah. Safe
Yeah, take
travels.
care, everyone. Have a good one.
Lance asking, want to bring up conversation topic for you guys to mull over. Do you think it matters that none of our top three coaches, coordinators played in the NFL? They have knowledge but not experience. I don't. To me, no.
No.
To me, that doesn't matter. I think I think there's some great quarterbacks. I mean, great coaches who have not played in the NFL. The one thing that matters to me is I want my head coach to have coordinator experience in the NFL, coaching experience in the NFL. Like the Kingsbury thing really kind of showed that to me. Like coaches coming straight from college to the NFL as head coaches have struggled consistently. You need to have at least coordinator experience, in my view, or at least, position coaching experience in the NFL. It doesn't necessarily have to be coordinator experience because I think Mike Tomlin was not a coordinator before he jumped to head coach, and he's been successful. But they need coaching experience in the NFL to me to be a head coach, but not playing experience. Let's see. For now, thank you for emergency pod. I need this after a horrible game. Me too. Go ahead.
Wasn't JG an ex-player?
I don't know if he played in the NFL, but he did play.
Okay.
He played college.
Oh, okay.
I don't think. Yeah, Kyler Bird is a sad boy. Kyler and I were texting back and forth during the game, and Kyler just wasn't able to jump on here with us. But yeah, Kyler and I have commiserated, and it's rough, right?
He wants DeMarcado gone.
Yeah. No, listen. And Robert, we're saying any culture JG built has been burnt up by this garbage loss. I mean, listen.
I agree.
Like I said earlier, that's the thing that's, Marcos, that's the thing that just really baffles me because this was such a stupid mistake culture loss.
Yes.
Right? They're up 20 to 20 to 6. And, then the DeMarcado, the bonehead mistake there. And I'll tell you, the interception fumble to touchdown was a bad play, but that wasn't to me like the kind of bonehead play, right? He got the interception and it was just a legitimate fumble, and that happens, right? And bad bounce, lucky for the Titans, unlucky for us. They jumped on it, got the touchdown. I'm not going to take them to task for that. That was a bang play that just happened. But the DeMarcado thing is inexcusable.
Yeah. That was one of those, like, it's gonna make the top 10 boneheaded plays. It'll definitely be on what is his name again? I always forget these names. The guy that does That Good Sports. He has the top 10. That's going to be on his blob 10. DeMarcado runs 72 yards just to do a touchback right before they get to the end zone, and that was the difference. But I'm sorry, I'm not cutting him, and I know people are
Mm.
going to come at me saying like, why would you do that? What's wrong with you, Marcos? He'll get picked up, and he's really good at pass protection. You rip him, and I didn't see it, but I heard that JG was looking for him, like hunted him down and ripped him a new one from a reporter saying that. I didn't see it because all I see on the sideline, and I tweeted about this, is JG just like this on a down to down basis, just like this, and it's like your team just gave up a touchdown on a dumb fumble. Like don't yell at them, but get fired up. Like hey, like come on guys, we got to do better. This and that. No, it's Buda Baker
Mhm.
circling everybody, getting in the middle of that, saying, "Hey guys, whatever he was," and then just becoming the leader that he is. But our coach is not doing anything on the sideline. It's like he doesn't care.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I will say this: I am not a believer in body language coming at body language. I think people overreact to that. I think body language can be taken out of context, taken the wrong way. So I'm not going to get into the body language thing, but what happened on the field, right? Just is inexcusable, and you know, and man, the now my something I was going to say just completely slipped my brain. Okay, no, okay, now I remember. So here's kind of the thing. I tweeted something else about this, and this is exactly the same team this team has been for the first 4 weeks, except against the worst team in the NFL. I tweeted that out like shortly after the first half, or as they got, yeah, like into the second half a little bit. Offense makes some big plays, but becomes impotent for long stretches. The defense played well, and I still think the defense played overall well. There was just some things, right? Um, there are only two things that are different this game from past weeks. Aside from the fact that the team wasn't as good as the teams we were playing, Marvin is playing more aggressively. That's like one good thing. Like you saw it, he was playing more aggressively, getting open, going after the ball. That's a plus. The other thing I would say is there were more things, weird, crazy ass things that didn't go our way than in past weeks. Like we had a few things, like think about like the onside kick, like we that they converted against us. There were a few, but there were like three crazy things, weird, just out, things that didn't go our way. But like aside from that, like this is the same team, just against a worst opponent, right? I think you
Yeah,
muted.
absolutely. No, sorry. Yeah, absolutely. It is the same team. We haven't seen anything really change, and that's why I'm a big fan of seeing some sort of emotion out there, especially from anybody who could be a leader, because I want to believe, and I don't know this could happen, so I'm just speaking out of whatever it is, that like they go into that locker room and then they have a big talk and then care about this loss, and then the next week goes on to like, hey, we're going to Indy is I believe they're still 4-1. We are going up against a team that is now led by Daniel Jones, not Daniel Jones, Daniel Jones, and he is Indiana Jones at the moment, and he is just that change in itself from him taking that offense from AR-15 and just like playing as well as he is. This is no longer the joke that we thought it was going to be before the season. I think a lot of people were circling this as a win. Now we're going into this thinking to ourselves, "Oh my God, this is going to be a loss already," and it'll be a 4-2 start, just like it was last year. But at some point, I do want to believe that they will go on a run. When they go on a run and everything goes great, you see greatness all around. You see the chemistry be high. You see people celebrating. You feel good, and that's how we went on a stretch last year. We went on a 4-game winning streak. I want to believe that that will happen again, but I believed that last year. I don't believe it this year at all.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at this, I mean, you look at the Cardinals, right? And there's like, we got the Colts next. The Colts are playing so well, right? one heck of a coach there, Steichen. So it's such a great job. I don't feel like we're going to win there. Then Packers. Packers have had some rough losses, but they're a good team. Do you believe we're going to beat the Packers? Then the Cowboys have been playing better. Then the Seahawks. Then the 49ers. Like, I could see us losing the next 4 or 5 in a row. I mean, I think we'll win one. I think they'll figure something out and win one. But like, man, this is the game. Like, this is the easiest game on the schedule. This, like, there's not an easier game down the road. Like Jaguars, like maybe the Bengals are struggling.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, listen, I couldn't, if you like, I really thought the floor on this team was like 9 wins because of the progress and the rebuild. And now I don't know where the floor is. You know what I'm saying? Like the floor to me is easily 4 or 5 wins. And I wouldn't have said that a week ago.
Yeah, we all expected it to be like 8 and like tops with like 10 or 11 with the playoff berth. That's not just us saying that too. There was any type of, just pick any type of football analysis show or whatever. They were feeling good about the Cardinals and saying like the floor was 8, the tops, like, the ceiling was like 10 or 11 with the playoff berth for the first time. And now they're probably looking at us just kind of just kind of feeling like, yeah, we had higher expectations in this. Something needs to change, and it will. I think as much as I'm not for it. I think Petzing will be fired or something will happen with him. I'm not a fan of like having somebody get promoted to that position that's just going to be in the system because they're just going to call the plays from the same playbook. One thing I wish would happen is that Kurt Warner would somehow take his study ball analysis and either become like some sort of like a person. What are those people called that you bring in to like
Consultant.
like a consultant or something like that? Because I don't think he would want to do play calling or anything like that. But he's smart. He's very smart.
He is. I will say though, like, I'm always great players don't always make great coaches, and they're often very smart. But I mean, listen, and I know some people with how they're feeling are not going to want to hear this, but Drew Petzing is very smart, and like some of his run blocking concepts are very creative, but it's still not working now. I do think there's an argument to be made that that's a JG thing where, like, because listen, the philosophy has been run the ball, play good defense, try to get a lead and hold on to it, which, and is JG kind of driving the not being as aggressive, right? So maybe that is on JG. I don't know. But like, I mean, I know there's a lot of people out there who like want Kurt Warner to be the offensive coordinator. I'm like, you can't dump a guy in there like midstream who hasn't been coaching, who, as smart as he might be, it's not going to work well, right? But maybe you bring him as a consultant, because that's a little bit different situation, right?
Yeah, he just obviously, if you see his breakdowns, he talks about like the little things. He said, okay, well, if this guy, like, there's one that he broke down where he says, what's going on with him? He needs to go. Like, he needs to go. And I don't know why he's taking his sweet time. Because if I'm the quarterback, I'm looking at this area of the field, thinking to myself, where's my guy? Like he says those little small things, so he could go in there and be like, look, on this specific play, Kyler Murray's dropping. He doesn't have long legs, so his 3-step drop is going to be quicker than most quarterbacks. So maybe lengthen that to a 5-step drop, and then have Marv run up the field, like blazing fast, plant his foot and turn. And the ball, if Kyler Murray hits his back of the foot and he lets the ball go on this certain coverage, ball will be there. And it's just him saying those little things, and it's like, okay, well, I see it from your perspective, because let's be real, there are some egos in those rooms where they're like, no, what do you know? Like, I called the perfect play, or hey, no, I was right in this. Like, who are you to tell me?
Yeah. Just a frustrating loss as a Cardinals fan. I mean, like, going into this game, like with the way things had gone, my mindset was anything less than a decisive win isn't good enough. Like if they had somehow managed to hold on and win 21-19, I was still going to probably be of the same mind. Like you can't be just beating the Titans by 2 points. And listen, I hate to bag on the like. Listen, credit to the Titans. They played hard. They made some plays, but like they are year one of a rebuild with a rookie quarterback who has struggled. Their roster needs work. Like that. They were 0-4 for a reason. They got blown out. So I think realistic Titans fans probably get this, right? But like if you're the Cardinals and you're year 3 of a rebuild, and I've been banging up, this is year 3. Like this is the decisive year. I year 1 and 2, they were right on track. Year 1, they didn't have a lot of wins, but they played hard. Year 2, they were pushing for the playoffs, but barely missed. That's what you expect in year 2 of a rebuild. Year 3, you make it as least as a wild card. And just do not see that happening. This is like, unless a miraculous turn, like they would need a miraculous kind of turnaround for this not to be like an absolute failure of a season in terms of what the plan is, right? So it's just really inexplicable. So from your perspective, I know we've kind of been talking about this, like, let's say they don't make any changes, right, during the season. We get through the season and this team wins between 5 and 7 wins, which is what it feels like it's to. What are you doing end of the year?
I'm definitely gonna clean house at that point. We do not want to be one of those teams that gets stuck in purgatory. And those teams, when they're stuck in purgatory, they usually are like, we don't make the playoffs, but we're not bad enough to get like those high draft picks that could help us, get a rebuild or get a retool or get that generational player that could make the difference on offense or defense. And so if you keep yourself in purgatory, you're not picking the highest of the high and you're not making any changes. So if they don't make any changes, like that would be devastating for this team if they win 5 to 7 games and put themselves at like 7 wins or 8 wins. Like that's not good enough. At that point, it's like, okay, like sorry JG, you're gonna have to go, because let's be real. I think you'd have to fire JG if Petzing doesn't get fired tomorrow. You have to fire JG and Petzing at the end of the season. Nick Ross can hopefully stay on this defense. You're keeping the general manager Monti Ossenfort, because I want to see him try another regime. You can't just throw him out because the first regime didn't work. So give him another chance and let's see what we do. Hopefully go offensive minded head coach.
Mm-hmm.
This time, like, give it a 1 year thing with Kyler Murray still on the roster. You really can't. You can move off of him, but at 7 or 8 wins, why would you? You're not going to get anything high enough for big. Draft a quarterback high, like maybe in the second round, maybe in the first round if you get a good one. And, hey, Kyler, this is your team to either stay on and get that big extension. And if not, then you know what? I'm sorry, we're moving off of you because we're not going to be mediocre.
Yeah, and you brought up Monty, and I want to kind of talk about it a little bit because, and for anyone who has just joined us, I've said something I hadn't said before. I'm out on Kyler, and I've been such a long time apologist for him. And again, I don't put this whole game on Kyler, but just this was the game where like he needed to elevate this team against a bad team, and it didn't happen. But we'll talk about that more probably in the coming weeks. But and JG, he's got to prove. Like I might be out on him. I'm still kind of pondering that, but at minimum, he's got to win me back to right for this year. But I want to talk about Monty, because Monty, of the quarterback, head coach, general manager triumvirate, Monty is the one that I have had the most faith in, and for specific reasons, because there's a roster building philosophy or set of philosophies that I believe in that are not my own, that are from other people. Those include drafting premium positions on day 1 and 2 and not overreaching for premium positions. You take them a little bit later. In free agency, not going for the highest price big premium player free agent, but instead kind of fill some depth, and maybe you splurge a little bit on non-premium positions. There are reasons for all of that, but you focus on good drafting and you extend your own guys, like they've done with McBride, for example. And there's a few other things baked into that. And from my perspective, in a process perspective, from a process kind of way of looking at, Monty has been going by that playbook very well. When you look at the picks he's made, he has not taken non-premium, no middle linebackers in round one, right? He has been taking, he's been taking the smart approach. And I have been a big believer in Monty, and I also have been a believer in how, like, cultural things he's done, like in terms of, you don't have those rumors coming out of the building like you had before, right? Things like that. Here is where I am. The one concern I have with Monty is some of the specific picks. Now, some people have gone so far as to say he's been terrible in drafting and terrible in free agency. I don't agree with that. He's had some really, like Froholt, Mac Wilson, like his, and I think some of the other players he's signed as free agents have been good pickups. Some of those draft picks, Will Johnson has been great. I think Michael Wilson has been a solid draft pick, maybe not elite, but solid. Paris Johnson Jr. has been solid. He's had some guys a little bit later that have done well. Rabbit's been a good draft. There have been good draft picks, and there have been some really good free agent signings. There have been some misses, right? Some of them injuries, some of them not. But some of the picks, like Isaiah Adams, right? I mean, listen, I've been preaching patience with him, but it's just not working, right? Browning's been another good, I think, a good trade and an extension, right? Yeah, Browning. But like, I still am in on Monty. I am not out on him because I like his process in terms of the approach towards roster building. I think he's had some good free agent signings and some bad ones, and I think most teams probably have some of that. The drafts picks have been good and bad. It's been both. And if you look at, every team has their misses. So I'm not going to, it's easy to kind of get a small sample size and focus on the misses. I want to, but I do want to see, I don't know. So I'm not out on him, but I guess I'm kind of just saying I'm at least thinking about him more critically than I have in the past. In particular, where I'm looking at, the things that caught my attention is some of the draft picks that aren't really doing much. Where are you at with Monty?
I agree with you with every general manager is not going to hit on every pick. I am kind of concerned with some draft picks that either are too injury prone.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, the first year. Now, Paris Johnson's been a great player. That we can't say like that he hasn't been. He's been a great player,
Mm-hmm.
but part of that deal was also having Darius into that mix, and also giving up the opportunity to draft yourself Will Anderson. Now that's sucks, but at the same time, you can't say, "Oh, well, that was bad," because Paris Johnson has panned out. He has panned out as a left tackle, so you have yourself set up with that. The
Mm-hmm.
deal of moving back in the second round a few times to lose out of like picks where you could have had, like for instance, say what you want to say about Max Melton, but I believe that was somewhat of a like a pick, like a hey, we'll move back, and um, uh, but there was two like premium like corners that were available that got taken right before the Cardinals, and then Max Melton was the pick. And Max Melton, he's been okay, but like he's a second round pick that you lost out of because you moved back. And of course now you have the one that sticks out like a sore thumb, and his first year in the second round, keep forgetting what his name, BJ Ojolari. He
Yeah.
has not seen the field. He is a second round pick. That is a high draft pick. You
Mm-hmm.
want, your first and second picks are very important. And he moved out of position. He got lucky by selecting BJ Ojolari at the time, but then now he has not even seen the field. He was injured his first year, and he came out like I guess the fourth game of the season. He came back in and played the rest of the season out. But then a second year, all injured. Third year, we don't even know what's going on with him. We have no idea. Darius Robinson got hurt, and I'm sorry what happened to him last year. We didn't see him
Yeah.
most of the season, and now the guy that I really did want him to draft, he drafted Walter Nolan, and he still hasn't seen the field. So
Yeah.
those are my concerns: is that he drafts great, great players on paper, but then they don't end up making much of an impact.
And and this is a good point that Goblinicus is saying. Is it easier for a GM to be considered a great drafter if he has an elite coaching staff who can develop them better? Yeah, listen, like coaching staffs in general and front offices and they work together so much and they are interdependent, and a good GM can help a coaching staff be better by giving him the good players and then draft picks. Listen, players get drafted for a reason. They have potential, they have upside, they have skill sets, and then you have to develop them. And the philosophy in the draft in recent years, over the last decade or two, has increasingly moved towards get me the athletes, I'll turn them into players, right? And so those things work together, and continuity is one of the things that helps that to happen. There's a reason organizations like Baltimore and Pittsburgh have success in the draft, in Green Bay, because those organizations have stable front offices and they don't move off their coaches too quickly. Now, the tough part is, if you have a coach that isn't working, you have to move off them at some point. But like every time you change a head coach and a GM, right, you've got a new philosophy coming in, and then players that were drafted under the last regime just might not quite fit in the new philosophy, right? So it makes it tough. So taking out go 10. Let me just tell you this: be better.
They still
Going
only
into
won one
someone
game.
else's stream talking smack. Yeah, I mean, you must. But listen, I'm sure this is the highlight of your life or your week, so good for you. Be better. Anyway, I think we go 5-0 if we stay healthy. I think we have lost 22 players at this point. Yeah, I mean, there's so many injuries, no doubt. But I don't think you're saying this, Austin. But obviously, that shouldn't be an excuse. They've built enough depth, right? They should be able to win against a team like the Titans. That is not, right now a great team, right? They're year one of a rebuild, right? Yeah. Hey, thanks for your comment too. Yeah. Yeah. Right. I mean, listen,
Yeah.
I don't think I'd be going in some stream talking smack if my team was 1-4, but listen, you do you, buddy.
Exactly. It's like, hey, okay, good for you. You got your win. Now let's see what you do the rest of the season.
Yeah. Congratulations on your Super Bowl. Anyway. Oh man, some people. Anyways. Yeah, so like when you have when you that's a tough part. That's one of the reasons I'm not quick to fire coaches, like, in year 2 or whatever, because it's not just you bring in a new coach, you have to kind of then make sure you bring in new player. It's just the GM and the players that you've drafted and the system and the scheme and the coach, all that stuff has to kind of weave together well. And yes, some coaches can come in and turn it around pretty quickly, but that's a lot harder to do, right? So, yeah. So anyway, it's frustrating, but we're in year 3, right? This was supposed to be, kind of the year that they took that step, and they didn't. So I'm not out on Monty. I'm JG has to prove to me something to keep around. I'm out on Kyler, and I hate that, right? But that's kind of what it is. We've been going for about 48 minutes. Kind of trying to kind of process what was the most disappointing loss in years, to be honest.
It was frustrating.
Any thoughts before we get out of here, Marcos?
Well, to that guy that keeps talking, we beat you guys at opening game in 2021. It wasn't even close. So you can say whatever you want, buddy, but you're not going to Super Bowl like this. So take your win.
And I'll tell you, I don't go into other teams' chats and talk smack because I just think that's kind of a really, it's an immature thing to do. It's the kind of thing you do if you're insecure or if this is all you got going in your life. Like, I come in here and talk about the Cardinals as a fan who's loved them for a long time. And when I have fans from other teams who come in and are reasonable humans, I treat them with a lot of respect. In fact, there's a lot of folks who subscribe to my channel who are fans of other teams who come in, and part of the reason they come back is because I always treat them with a lot of graciousness. And I might joke with people like Peo, who I have a rapport with, but I don't go talking smack to other teams because like other fans of other teams and stuff like that, because it's really an immature kind of thing. For me, sports fandom is about having fun and enjoying it. Being a Cardinals fan, for all the things that have been frustrating, has brought a lot of joy to my life. I've met a lot of cool people like you, Marcos, and other folks that are in the chat. It's a way that I connect to my home city. I'm from Arizona, but I live in the state of Georgia. So it's, as someone who was born in Arizona, the team is kind of this part of my home identity. It's helped me meet really cool folks. It's a lot of great memories. And I don't need to go have a pissing contest with other people to feel good about being a fan. But listen, I get it. Some people, that's their world, and they for whatever reason they need that. So I hope you feel better, Henry. I hope you feel better. I hope this is the best. I hope you have a great day, and that brings you a lot of joy, this win, because I feel like if this is the kind of person you probably need that. So cool.
There's another podcast for him to go to. He can go do it to them all day.
Yeah, right. There's other. Yeah, we won't say who, but yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Dude is 13 totally, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so like, yeah, but listen, Marvin Harrison looked good, right?
Yeah,
So we see what we need to do, right? Yeah. AZJ's, he has a trademark thing on his name. He's probably 13 years old, wasting their precious iPad time. Listen, Henry. I know your parents limit you to 2 hours on the tablet every night, and I just would hate for you to waste that on me. Go play Roblox or something, man. Don't waste your time on your 2 hours of limited screen time on me. I'm spend it on something more fun. You're messaging his mom right now. Oh man, children.
Henry seems to forget that if it wasn't for a boneheaded run where he got rid of the ball before he let go of the ball before the touchdown, we're having a different conversation about who won and lost.
And listen, I will say this, so even if it's that one plays difference, but I will say, from a Cardinals fan perspective, even if we won this game and the DeMarcado thing didn't happen, there were enough other mistakes and not enough. They did not. It was not a decisive. It wouldn't have been a decisive enough win. I still would have been critical, right? Because they needed to have this. Anything less than a decisive win is not good enough for a team that's in year 3 of a rebuild. When you're in year 3 of a rebuild, playing against a team that is year 1 in a rebuild, and that's not Meta's shade. Like when we were year 1 of a rebuild, a team like the Lions are in year, they've hit their stride. If they lost to us in year 1, that would have been really bad for them, right? They should beat us, right?
Yeah.
And we're in year 3, so we're supposed to be beating teams that are year 1. And when the Titans are year 3, if they do what they're supposed to be doing, they should be making the playoffs, and they should be beating, teams that are in year 1. But so even if we pulled out a win, if it was not a decisive win, I was going to be raising the alarm,
Yeah, it'd still be critical because the win wasn't decisive enough for us to feel good and comfortable.
This is the curse, right? Tyler Lockett, right? He's on the team, and he's still cursing us. So listen, we're approaching an hour. We could probably go longer, but listen, Matthew Burgess, thank you for being in here. Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we're feeling. We're probably going to get out of here. Listen, this is the worst loss in a long time. This is a loss that is there were already signs that there were problems, and this is a 3-alarm fire. And change is unless they have the most miraculous turnaround I've ever seen, change needs to come, right? Probably big change. So listen, I've been a Kyler Murray apologist for so long, and I had already been kind of weighing things, and this was the straw that broke the camel's back for me on Kyler, and I don't want to hate on him because I think he's worked hard. It hasn't been good enough. It hasn't been a dumpster fire, but it hasn't been good enough, right? So,
Yeah.
any final thoughts before we get out of here? Thanks for dropping by, Thunder. Thank you for everyone who's hung out with us. Any final thoughts before we leave?
Yeah, just guys, be careful driving on the streets out there.
Yeah.
That situation that happens on the 101 for anybody that lives here and knows what I'm talking about. Just be careful going through the streets and whatnot. And hopefully, the rest of the week is better for us, and we, gather ourselves and see some change and go into the next game with a possible win.
Yeah. Everyone be safe out there. Remember, as frustrating as this is, there's still it's, being a fan is about enjoyment. It's about community, and we've got a great community in our Discord. We got a great community here at TCR, and we're gonna commiserate. We're gonna get through this together, even if it means, even if we're looking at another rebuild, right?
Hmm.
So everyone, thank you so much. We're gonna get out of here. Be well. We'll see you Tuesday night, everyone. Peace.
See you guys.